Provoke your inner wanderlust with this heirloom quality set. The Viking-inspired axe has a narrow-bladed axe head, reminiscent of Viking-era bearded axes found all over Norway, and it enables this axe to perform as a stout chopper that's light enough to be used with one hand if desired. The American hickory haft is stained deep brown. It features a groove that runs most of its length and is accented at the ends with brass tacks. The leather grip has been given an aged finish to look experienced. The handle is engraved with an elder Futhark Othala rune, associated with the inheritance and ancestral land, to remind you of your home as you conquer new territories. The hand-forged mini skinning knife has a rough forged finish and is creatively hand-shaped with a ring grip that finishes with an artistic curlicue at the end. The leather sheath for this knife is provided with a leather thong long enough for neck, waist, or shoulder carry. The wooden box is engraved with knotwork of Norse dragons, and the inside is lined with black velvet. 2 leather straps buckle your axe safely in place, and the box is latched with antique clasp locks. There's actually quite a lot to discuss with the Windlass Othala Viking axe set. Because it's got so many kind of component parts that are making up the whole package, and I should talk about each one and their kind of individual value. I'm going to do that. I'm going to leave the axe, which is the most interesting part, for the latter half of the review. And then I will also talk about kind of the value of all these things together, because I think that's actually the most important part, and also maybe the most interesting part for you, the end customer of this. So to start it off, the box itself is pretty basic. In and of itself, it's not a huge selling point to me. I don't think anyone would buy this set because of the box. But it's nice to get something that, you know, stores the axe. It's got this laser engraving on it, and yes, it is laser etched. It is not like hand wood burned or anything, but it kind of works. It puts the shape in there. There are some elements of it that are mildly uneven, as far as, like, if I were to look at this from like a wood burning perspective, you'd want a certain evenness to it. You've got parts of the wood that are lighter than others, and so it doesn't look uniform like you'd almost expect it to. I wouldn't say that's necessarily a good or a bad thing. It just makes it kind of feel a little bit rough and aged. And, I mean, that's okay, right? It's supposed to be reminiscent of, you know, something from the Viking era. It's got these little antique clasps that they talk about in the product description. They antique the hinges, but... and they even mention that in the description, but it's almost not even worth noting because they're so minimal, you don't even really see them. And the latches, you know, they work well enough. They latch shut. You can open them back up. They're latches. I don't know what to tell you. They got a little bit of a springiness to them, so they can kind of close on you. When you open the box itself, you get to the contents inside. I will note, Windlass put their logo right here, front and center. I can see where that might actually turn some people off, because a maker's mark, as it were, you kind of want it to be tucked away. You know, they should be proud of their product, but putting it front and center might turn some people off. I can tell you that, like, if I really cared one way or the other, I'd probably, like, line this part with velvet to kind of cover it, but overall, that's not a big deal to me. I can see why it'd be a big deal to some other people who want maybe a smaller Windlass logo. And I also will note that because on the axe itself, there, as far as I can tell, and I have looked, maybe I've missed it, but there's nothing to signify that the axe itself is Windlass, which is kind of interesting. As far as the rest of the box, it is lined in kind of this black velvet. It's simple. It's not like the most luxurious thing ever, but you do get the feeling when you open this, like, this is one big set. It kind of feels nice together. Has these little buckle clasps to hold the axe in place if you need to have it held in place. This box isn't really designed to carry. If it had like a handle, that would make a lot more sense, because you wouldn't want the axe jostling around. But realistically, if you're picking up this box, you're basically picking it up like this and carrying it around. So I don't know how necessary those buckles were for holding the axe in place, but I guess someone might sling this under their arm and walk with it, so they wouldn't want it to be, you know, flopping around in there. It's got a little cutout for the handle, and the main part of the axe sits here. And there's this kind of large open space in the front, as you can see, where yeah, nothing is there. You could put something there, I suppose. So it just kind of feels like a little bit blank, but that's okay. I will talk about the axe in a moment, but first I'm going to get to, and I'm going to close the box, I'm going to get to the little skinning knife. This 100% reminds me of the type of thing that I used to make when I did blacksmithing stuff. I didn't make knives, but I made the little curly cues, I formed it, and these take almost no time at all. Like, to me, whether it's a blacksmith or a knife maker, this is one of those things that you make to really quickly sell people on the idea or sell a simple product. The knife itself, it feels rough, it looks rough. That's kind of the point. And I view this more of like a surprise or an extra bonus than anything else with this set. Again, it is not going to be a selling point. I could see someone selling this type of thing individually for like $5 to maybe $10. It really depends. I will note it is very sharp for what it is. Again, a rough kind of forged knife. It does actually, well, that tears, but there we go. It cuts through paper okay. I actually did a cutting test. So there, it kind of cuts okay. I did a cutting test actually with it on a milk bottle, and it got through. I mean, it sliced it and the water kind of poured out, but because it's so small, it just kind of catches things. The edge isn't like the most super refined thing, and so it's able to catch. And so my second attempt just kind of knocked the water bottle off. So again, it's a little skinning knife. It's like a bonus. The little sleeve for it, I would totally just, you know, throw it over my shoulder and wear it like kind of like a satchel there. That's how I did it when I was messing around with it. It was really easy actually to pull this out one-handed. So if you imagine this hanging around your neck or around your waist or whatever, you can just reach in, grab, and pull. And so that's really quite nice. Like, it fits very snugly in the little sheath, but it's actually pretty easy to get out. And you can see it's not going to come out, but it's easy enough to pull out because of the kind of the ring nature of how you'd hold this thing. And this is how I would hold it. I don't know, other people might hold it differently, but put my thumb on the spine and put my finger kind of through the little curly Q circular part. And yeah, it's a skinning knife. I don't think I've ever skinned anything in my entire life, so I don't really know how to use a skinning knife, but there you go. If you knew how, or you want to really kind of play out being a Viking, you might want to have something like that. And again, it's like a little bonus. It sits in there. The axe itself, and I don't have this on it because I just want to pull out for quick and easy access. It does have the blade protection little sleeve for it. So if I pull the axe out, I can put said sleeve on it, and you know, that's a little bit more protection for walking around with it if you don't want to risk kind of cutting anything by accident. Actually, I have plenty of modern axes that have the exact same thing, so it's not like a huge surprise to get something like that. And again, that's not the reason you'd be buying this set. Now I'm going to move the box out of the way for a moment, and I'm going to bring in a little sword stand. I'm going to put it right here and just kind of let this sit in front of me, because this is really the main event, right? Like, this is why you're buying this set. You're buying the set for this axe, the Othala axe. When I look at the price of other axes that Windlass sells, you're seeing a markup for this. You are seeing a price jump, and it's not necessarily because of the axe. It is because of the entire set. So it's a thing you're going to have to be aware of. I think there's a lot of people on the market that would really like this axe for what it is, and they'd be buying the gift set to get it, and it would feel a bit overpriced. But let's talk about the axe itself first, then we'll get to the overall value. So in testing this, it worked quite frankly a little bit too well. I spent more time making my target to kind of hack away at with an axe than said target actually lasted. I went and bought this kind of big circular piece of wood. I spent quite a lot of time painting it. I even 3D printed a stencil for it to just kind of put this little dragon shape on it to make it look real cool and real nice. And I was like, oh, that'll look really cool, and I don't feel bad about tearing it up, but it'll look good on camera and I'll hack away at it. And it served that purpose for a bit. I guess just because of the blows, I actually broke the actual stand that I had it screwed into, and it was fine. It was still hanging by one of the screws. I was like, I'll still take some swipes at it, and I got one good hit right along the grain of that wood, and I split it right in two. I guess that's like a big mark for how well this works as just a hand axe. And that's the thing, like modern axe or not, wood chopping or not, you know, bearded design or not, you want an axe just to function. This functions really well as an axe. It had no problems. It feels, you know, really well weighted. It is very heavy, like, you know, surprisingly heavy for as small as the head looks. But that means you've got a lot of power behind that in a swing. The grip is decent enough. It feels a little bit slippery, but when you're actually out there kind of white knuckle gripping it, it's not going anywhere. You've got a pretty good grip, and like I said, it performed really well in the few little swings I was able to put onto my target. You can actually see some transference from the paint onto the axe head, where either a strike went a little bit errant and I kind of turned it sideways, or it just, you know, just from the contact on the blade. So I didn't bother cleaning it up. That's kind of the battle wounds. I can go in and, you know, finish it and put it back to normal, but I just haven't done that yet. Again, the laser etching returns, so they mention in the description, you know, it has this singular kind of line down the center. It has the Othala rune on it. It has these little kind of brass tacks just as decoration. None of these things matter for functionality. They're all visual flair. I don't know that they speak to me one way or the other. Certainly because of the kind of laser etched nature of it. It's very uniform. You can tell that it's not been done as wood burning. The edges, especially the squared edges, are very, very clear and well defined. That it is what it is. It's what a laser etcher will put into a piece of wood. But it does mean that you get at least a somewhat more interesting haft. And you know, someone didn't have to do it by hand, so I don't think it probably increased the price too much. The axe head itself, it's, you know, black in color on the sides. You can see both on the top, on the kind of the bevel of the blade, and then on the underside, it doesn't have any of that blackening on it. So the blackening is just kind of on the visually important surfaces of the axe itself. Because it is American hickory in terms of the wood, you don't really got to worry about the handle so much. I think it's really great, actually. They note what type of wood this is, that it is a hickory wood. That gives you some confidence that you're not going to try to use this thing and have it break on you or fall apart. It'll function just like you'd want an axe to. So the axe itself, it performed well. It's nice. Oddly, on this channel, it's only the second time I've ever reviewed an axe, and I can see it, you know, functioning. You know, if you want to talk about this in the context of what it would be a you know, bearded axe to fight with, you know, in war and combat. Sure, I can't say I know a lot about axes in that context, to be honest, but it seems like it'd be very effective. It was very effective against my target, and my target was a big piece of wood, and it made pretty short work of that. So I'm pretty happy with the axe itself. All right, so we've looked at all the component pieces, and I want to now talk about this and the total value as a set. So you get the axe, you get the blade cover, you get the skinning knife and its little sheath and thong, and you get the stained, engraved, and lined box with antique latches. So, as a set, all the component parts, add them all together, price point feels pretty much spot on for what you'd be willing to pay for this, I think. But there's a problem, and I view this as it's not a problem per se, but it's a problem for a certain kind of group of people that would buy this type of thing. The problem for one group is actually a benefit for another. So a group for people like myself, or people who have invested a lot of time, purchasing power into various products, they look at this and they say, I really like that axe, but I really just want the axe. I don't want everything else. And I don't want to pay extra for all the things I don't really want to get. That becomes a problem for that individual. I don't think that's who Windlass is really going after with this product, but I can feel like, I can see where people feel a little bit left behind in that in that scenario, because maybe you really like the axe, you just don't want to pay for it. There are other axes out there. Windlass makes other axes. When you look at their price point for similar type products, it is the value of this minus the cost of the nice box and the skinning knife, and so you can go get one of those axes. Maybe you really like this Othala style axe. Oh man, I really want that. It's a shame that at least right now, as of making this video, Windlass isn't selling it in and of itself by itself. Maybe they will one day in the future. I don't know what their plans are. But I'll be honest, I don't think that as a target audience, a prospective consumer, I don't think that's their target. I think their target is kind of one of maybe 3 other types of people. And I'm going to go through the 3 other types of people because I think you will understand the value of this for those 3 types of people. One is someone who wants to buy somebody else a really nice present. This as a gift would work really well. If someone came to me, a person who has a lot of swords and stuff, and it was Christmas and they said, "Merry Christmas," and they handed me this box with a little bow on it, and that's all I saw, I would think, that's a really cool box. Thank you, that's an amazing gift. And then I would open the thing up, and I'd look inside, and I'd be blown away. I'd be like, wow, that is so much more than a really nice box, which I was happy enough as is because it kind of suits my fancy, but you've gotten me a really cool axe, and I got a skinning knife, and that's really awesome. I can see it fitting perfectly for that scenario. So if you're buying a gift for someone, or someone is buying a gift for most likely you as a viewing audience of mine, I know what your interests are, this would be great for that. It would be amazing. And the price point would be pretty spot on for it. The second group of people that would really benefit from this set would be someone who's maybe really just starting out buying things. Maybe their interests are heavily Viking. They really want an axe. It's kind of the thing they want. Maybe they're going to go do recreation stuff, and they want to dress up, and they want to kind of get a kit together. And they haven't spent a lot of money on a bunch of swords and armor and stuff like myself and a lot of viewers of mine. I can see this being a great starting place, right? You're getting more than just the axe. You're getting a pretty cool box, and that would feel really cool if you have nothing else to kind of put out on display or something. You get a nice skinning knife, which kind of adds into the overall maybe costume you're building, or just adding to your collection something slightly different, and that would be really cool. And so kind of a one-stop shop to get quite a few different things that are Viking inspired and look really nice, and that's perfect for that person. The third type of person would be really, it's a much more niche than all the other groups, and that is the person who just likes the premium experience. And that's actually a relatively new thing that's actually very common these days, where you buy a new cell phone. Some cell phones come in some really nifty boxes and they feel real premium. And that's actually a thing that a lot of companies have actually started moving towards in order to drive a slightly different level of consumerism, maybe, which is getting something that feels a little bit more special. The example I would give specifically with Windlass is if you buy any other axe from Windlass, it's going to be shipped to you. It's going to come in a cardboard box. If it's shipped to you, it'll be a cardboard box in a cardboard box. If you buy it at one of their storefronts, you get the cardboard box. You open it up, you've got the axe inside. Likely the head of the axe will be wrapped in plastic and a nice thick layer of greasy oil to keep it all nice and pristine that you'd wipe off and clean off. But then that's what you have. You have an axe and you have a bunch of cardboard that you're probably going to go recycle. That's all you're getting. And that doesn't feel necessarily very premium. Now, the product might feel really great, right? Some of their swords are really nice, and you just love to hold it and swing it and cut things with it and hang it on your wall, and that's really great. But it wasn't like a premium experience getting it as a product. And a lot of people actually really like that. So I can see the person who really likes the premium experience to feel like I'm getting a lot of really cool stuff at once. It's a nice box, and it's premium. The box might end up in a closet, right? The axe might end up on a wall. They may not sit together as a set, but the experience is there. So that's kind of like the really interesting third kind of target consumer for this product. And I think it's really interesting that Windlass is doing this, that they're actually kind of testing these waters, because it does benefit certain groups of their potential consumer base that may not always buy things from them for other reasons, right? Someone looks at a gift like they want to buy an axe for someone, and it just doesn't feel like that's the type of gift they want to give. But this feels like a gift. Someone wants to start off their kit. This looks like a great starting point. Someone wants the premium experience. They've got the premium experience. Now, me as a collector, it kind of works against me a bit. I actually have a problem with it just as a box. Just like, what would I do with this? It takes up horizontal space, right? Like, I have to set it on a flat surface. I don't know where I'd do that. Like, and it doesn't really suit my need for that. But it's really nice axe. Like, the axe itself could, hang on a wall, look really cool. So I don't know. It's kind of this kind of self-contradictory product in that regard. But I do think that it would be like, for me, if I'm recommending this would be a strong recommendation for someone wanting to spend, a decent amount of money on a very nice present for somebody, right? I would highly recommend this. For someone who really likes the premium feel and experience, this can work pretty well to kind of satiate that, and not at a ridiculous price point either. But again, kind of the base consumer who maybe has more than one thing already and really just wants the axe, then the price gets a little bit too high. And I think until Windlass gives you a secondary option, this one is going to be priced out of the range of a lot of people who really just want the axe. So all that said, I am really curious to hear your thoughts on this set. The axe, the skinning knife, the box itself. I am curious on kind of two fronts. I want to know what people think about the axe, specifically, the centerpiece of this set. What do you think of the axe? But then I also want to know what you think about the whole thing as a set. Like, would this be a great gift if you received it? Is this the type of thing you'd buy? Are you the type of person who really likes the premium experience? Is this what you would go for? I'm really curious. I'm really curious to know. So let me know that. Put that down in the comment. As always, engage with me. Tell me what you think of this, one way or the other. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. I'd love to hear it. Also, don't forget, if you've gotten to this point, it's great. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit notification bell. There's probably something else I'm forgetting, but do that general engagement thing for me. It does help build the channel, and I've been really bad at self-promotion, so I'm going to try to remember to do that. Hit those things for me. But that's it. That's it for this review. I hope you found it interesting. I really am curious to see what people think about it, and I will see you all in the next video.